The Lions, unfortunately, were the product of some major news this week, quote unquote major news, major amongst Lions fans. Levi Onwuzurike, second round pick out of the University of Washington, the great Big Ten University, of course, Washington. He tore his ACL. So he's out for the season. Tore it in training camp a couple of days ago. I believe on Sunday was when the news was announced. Awful stuff. Just an awful for him personally, because last year he really had that kind of breakout year of, finally getting to be on the field. He had suffered from some back injuries. I think when he was at Washington, he came in, he just couldn't ever stay healthy, and now Terry ACL. I don't know how much longer he is for this league. There's only so many injuries you can really go through. I imagine if he doesn't sign with Detroit, a team will sign him, but it's unfortunate when you see guys that have a lot of talent and a lot of ability, as we saw much of last year, just can't stay healthy. Just can't stay healthy. So, look, he wasn't the only injury news, though. You had Ennis Rakestraw get a chest contusion, which is not major, not major at all, but still, you had Ennis Rakestraw, a guy who was hurt all of last year. You really need him to be productive for you, but he was hurt all of last year. And Josh Pascal, another one who was banged up a little bit. Now, look, here's the thing. There's a few takeaways, not a couple. There's more than two. There's a few takeaways that I think that one needs to have in order to be reasonable about this sort of thing. Because the instinct, I think, that a lot of Lions fans or a lot of fans in general, especially if you're already kind of on the side of, oh my gosh, we lost our coordinators, we lost we just lost Levi Onwuzurike, we're not going to have Aleem McNeil, our schedule is way tougher than last year. Like, you're already kind of on the side of, oh boy, we are doomed for regression. Losing Levi Onwuzurike is not good. Now, point number one that I want to make as far as being reasonable here. Losing Levi does not make you better. It makes you worse. Levi Onwuzurike is not some superstar player, but he is a solid depth piece at the very least. I mean, again, he was starting games for you last year. He was a productive player. He made some nice plays. He helped solidify a great run defense that you had last season, despite the fact that you had plenty of injuries with Aleem McNeil going down and Aiden Hutchinson going down. Levi Onwuzurike makes you a better team. And he was a contributor. And of course, you could use him as an extra piece when your next best option on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson is Marcus Davenport. And it's not going to make Aiden Hutchinson's life easier that now he's also down Aleem McNeil. He's also going to be down Levi Onwuzurike. And who knows if Davenport is going to stay healthy, because he really has not been able to. And he certainly didn't stay healthy for you last year. So he's getting another prove-it deal to see if he can stay healthy. On the other hand, as solid as Levi Onwuzurike is, he is not some world record. Okay, like if the defense was totally if the quality of the defense was totally determined and solely determined on whether Levi Onwuzurike was on the field, you had bigger problems. You have to keep in mind, losing Levi does not mean that you lose all of the other guys that are on the team. Namely, Aiden Hutchinson. Namely, hopefully Marcus Davenport. Namely, Derek Barnes coming back. DJ Reader. Eventually, you'll have Aleem McNeil back, assuming things go well with him. You still got Josh Pascal. I know I mentioned he was being banged up in training camp, but nothing severe. Like, you still have a lot of guys. Al-Qadim Muhammad is another guy who was a contributor for you. You have your Tyleik Williams, the guy you just drafted. So you have guys, and it's not as though you're just going to go out there and sign me to be defensive tackle for you. But, of course, any loss to a starter, any loss to any player who is a contributor is a big, misstep. It's not good. Not good for your team. The final point I want to make on this. It is July. Okay? In a sense, I would rather players go down for the season in July than in November. Now, why is that the case? Because now we know, and Brad Holmes knows, and Dan Campbell and Kelvin Shepard and the whole coaching staff knows, we're down Levi Onwuzurike. Who are we going to put in the spots where Levi was to be successful on the defensive side of the ball? Maybe that's Josh Paschal. Maybe that's Broderick Martin, assuming he can, get on the field to begin with. Maybe DJ Reader, despite his age, might have to, push a little bit harder in his role. Maybe it's Tyleek Williams. Okay, trial by fire. Let's get you in here, Rook. You're a really solid player for Ohio State. Let's get you to play, some consistent D tackle for you. Maybe that's the case, but and getting it done with right now is best case scenario. And look, any one player that you lose outside of Jared Goff, or I guess just your quarterback, any one player is not the difference between you winning the Super Bowl and not. Okay, like if it was, then your team wasn't very well constructed to begin with. Like, this might seem like sacrilege given the way the season went out last year for them, but the difference between the Eagles winning the Super Bowl last year was not whether or not Saquon Barkley played. I mean, Saquon Barkley played in the Super Bowl, but he didn't have his best game. Now, if they didn't have him the whole year, would they have made the Super Bowl? Would they have been able to beat the Rams? Been able to beat the Commanders? Who knows? But the point is, if they lost Saquon Barkley all at the beginning of last year, it's not like they suddenly become some dog water garbage team, or at least in theory, they shouldn't become some dog water garbage team. And the Lions are no different. Like, you lose Levi Onwuzurike. You got a lot of guys on your defensive side. You have two of the top safeties in the league, and All-Pro Kirby Joseph and could have been All-Pro Brian Branch. You have Terrion Arnold, who, despite his struggles last year, I think has a lot of potential. You signed DJ Reed, who is a very solid cornerback for the Jets. You still have DJ Reader, whom I mentioned. You drafted Tyleek Williams, who is a solid player. It's not like you have a bunch of nobodies, is my point. It's not like he's your best defensive player and now everything kind of falls apart. And even then, you lost Aiden Hutchinson last year, and you still had a lot of a good defensive production from guys who you didn't really expect. All I'm saying is we need to be reasonable, but we also don't need to be overly negative or overly positive. It's wrong to suggest that losing Levi Onwuzurike is nothing. That's just stupid. Of course, it's something. But it's also wrong to suggest that because we lost Levi Onwuzurike, now all of a sudden the Lions are going to go 8-9 and miss the playoffs. That's stupid. Okay? Like, both of those are stupid. And that's all I'm trying to say, is that it's early in the season. Lions have time to adjust. They have time to even make some moves. Maybe this does trigger the talks with Zadarius Smith to kind of speed up here. I know he's not a defensive tackle, but he's a player on the defensive line, basically. And maybe it means Tyleek Williams decides, you know what, this is going to be my opportunity here. Let me show off what I got. Or one of your other draft picks. I believe we took two guys in the defensive line, if I'm not mistaken. We took the edge rusher out of Boise State, the Middle Eastern guy. I don't remember his last name. I know it was some Middle Eastern name, but I don't remember what it was. What the heck just happened? Wait, what the heck just happened? Hold on. Anyway, sorry, I'm watching the Tigers game. Anyway, to wrap up this segment, losing Levi sucks, but you got a lot of great players on this team, and you got a great coach, I think, in Calvin Shepard, who can lead them to success. And furthermore, you'll make the adjustment or you won't. In a sense, like, you're either going to become a better team, you're either going to be a good team despite the injuries that you are going to sustain, because every team's going to sustain some injury, or you're not, and you're just not built for it, and that's the reality. So it sucks, but I guess better Levi Onwuzurike than Aiden Hutchinson, I suppose. I hate to say something like that, but it's true, right? I mean, I'm just hoping that the season does not become the defensive injuries that we had last year, because that was just terrible. Like, that was just comedically bad. Hey, YouTube, if you like clips like that, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. We've got live shows every Tuesday night. Hope to see you there.